cool. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Great Minds Drink Alike, the podcast where we invite people who are interesting, who are achievers, who are just cool people I like to have a drink with, to tell their stories, talk about their lives, their books, their methodology, and of course, to have a drink because we are on a Friday and holy shit, right? So if you are watching live, which of course you are, I guess, well, no, some people watch this on demand, post in the comments below, like, what are you drinking? And while you're there, and get a little drunk and fall on the subscribe button and subscribe, right?
I am drinking a good Stella, only served in the chalice.
Nice. No, wait a minute. Okay, so we're gonna get to that. Hold on, I got to get through my thing, Jack. You gotta let me go through my thing. All right.
This is the difficult thing when you got a guy like me on here. I'm gonna interrupt you, and I'm not going to follow forward.
Well, that's good because I wasn't going to do it either, but I'm being yelled at and told by, Mike, who knows more than I do about this stuff. And he's telling me I need to do this. So I'm supposed to, like, next on the button is make sure you find buttons to subscribe. And yeah. So wait a minute. So you're supposed to subscribe, like post what you're drinking below, then subscribe. All right. And then something about events coming up in TMT. So we just had our boot camp, Jack. Did you see any of it?
I saw all the comments, fast and furious all over social media. People thought that it was the best ever. Pretty high grades.
Well, yeah, I think we did pretty good. We had it was interesting because we're almost pre-COVID numbers, right? So we're still dealing with a lot of no-show rates and stuff. I think people got out of like the habit of going to events, but we had like 1,000 people, over 1,000 MSPs. How many sponsors did we have, Mike? Do you know? I think it was close to 100 sponsors. Like we had
we had close to 100 sponsors, and they probably sent 250 people with that.
Yeah. So when we give numbers, like some people count like the cleaning crew and the sponsors and there's, all that shit to make it look real. And I give it like the numbers of actual like attendees. So we had that, but then we had, all total with the virtual, we had over 2,000. So it's kind of interesting because we used to be all in person on COVID and we have the virtual event platform. So that went really, really well. And I know I had you, Jack. I think the first time I had you speak was at boot camp in, was it 2016? What year was it?
I'm going to guess 5 years ago. That's about the ball for you.
Yeah. And you were like, people freaking loved you. I mean, and I'm not just, seriously, because I've had you come back. We've done training,
Austin, you let me fill in for you on Austin. High compliment.
Well, I needed someone who could be strong, it's funny because, we were just on I was just on a coaching call right before this. Right. And you can't, you got to be your authentic self because when you're a guru, I don't know if I'd put myself in the guru. I hate that word, but the guru or the whatever, there's a lot of people who manufacture sort of a persona. On stage, they're one person, behind stage, they're another, and I can't keep that up. Like I gotta be, I'm just, I can't separate it because I can't keep track. And so I'm kind of like you, I'm very driven. I get I get pissed off, but to me, pissed off is not like a bad thing. Pissed off is like motivation for me.
Yeah, cool. Absolutely. I'm assuming you've read the book Relentless.
Yeah. And so same thing, right? I just get angry, I don't know. I get angry and I do some of my best work when I'm pissed off. Like, I don't know. It's like, I know everyone's like, oh, you need anger management. I'm like, I don't know. But anyway, so yeah.
In the book Relentless, Tim Grover talks about that all the time. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. They're cleaners, right? They're going to get pissed at their fellow players. They get pissed at everything if you're not bringing everything you got to the game every single time, right?
Right. So not everybody likes that though. I think you're like that to 10th degree. You're the ultimate cleaner. I know that we just kind of done. See, Mike, we tried to follow your process. It's not working.
It was better than ever before.
So. Okay. It was at least a little better.
Yep.
It was better. Right. So, so I know a lot of people watching this, if you're clients of mine, they know about you, Jack, because we've had you at boot camp. We've had you at Producer Club more than once. I talk about you. I recommend your book. And you got the one we're going to kind of cover. You can see I haven't gotten through the whole book, but I started to like highlight some of the stuff. And the thing I love about your books and you are like, you have real meat on the bones. Like, you're not like, there's a lot of people, you read their book and you get these ideas, you know what I mean? Like, you kind of, these high level theories and I don't know, but you always have like just good meat, like in your books. And so for those of you who don't know, Jack actually, I think it's 6 companies. I'm just going off of memory now, but I think you've started, grew, exited successfully 6 companies.
Yep.
Made a shit ton of money. And what year did you start doing the sales training stuff though? Because that's what you still kind of do now.
Yeah. So I'm 73 years old and I started doing what I'm doing now at 46. So whatever that math is.
Okay.
27 years, maybe something like that.
Was that the last time, like, because I know with your speaking business and your sales training, it is very much, you fit it in around what you want to do. Like, you love what you do. You love speaking. You love talking about sales. It is something you're passionate about, but I know you also don't take a speaking gig because you have to, right? I mean, that you like your life by design really is like, you really do live that, right? And
yeah, I've lived it for, and get this, I've lived it for 60 years. I designed my life for the first time at 13 years old. And I will tell you that living the life intentionally is not difficult. It just takes some discipline. But it's not difficult. So, I've been at it for a long time. And you're right. In the speaking business, the demand for me as a speaker is, I'm going to talk pre-pandemic because pandemic screws all that metrics up. Pre-pandemic, 200 to 250 days a year I could speaking. I'd have no life, no wife. I mean, it would be a disaster. I'd spend my whole life in a hotel. So I limited the number of engagements to 100 sleep nights in hotels. And we would call that sold out. And so a third of my life was in hotels for business. A third of my life was on the road, exploring the world for fun. And a third of it was at my house overlooking the Pacific Ocean in Southern California.
Or doing any of the number of crazy shit you do, like triathlons and,
that's the 100, that's the 1/3 that's out traveling the world doing whatever I'm doing, right? Whether it's triathlons or bungee jumps or, wrapping a snake around my neck, whatever the hell's going on.
So, but just because I want people to have context, I'm actually curious too, because you said you've designed your life since 13, right? And you started and grew 6 companies, right? And not everybody's watching, but I mean, I like literally just got off a coaching call with a bunch of my client coaches who are entrepreneurs. They're driven people, they're smart, and, and they're working. I mean, like their whole life is gunning it for their business. So I just want to give people context, because when we talk about designing because I do want to get into a little bit of this book about really designing your life by design, which I think is, I'm actually going to my kids read this. You should. No, absolutely. I'm serious, because I don't want them to kind of automatically go into life thinking, okay, you got to work your ass off until you retire. And then maybe sometime at 65, 70, you retire and you got, 10 years to do something, right? Which is kind of how people think. So just so people know that you actually were growing big businesses. Talk about like some of the businesses and the size so that they understand that you were growing a big business at one point and living your life by design. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I grew up, I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. I grew up in the Northeast. I built some companies that were headquartered there, and sold a couple of those companies before I moved to California. One of them to First Boston, and one of them to Solomon Brothers, 2 investment banking houses. All 6 companies in the financial services arena, all startups. You're looking at the first employee type of thing, right? When I moved to Southern California, this will give some context to people. I moved here for the weather, plain and simple. A wife and 2 kids and I board a plane. I don't know anybody here. I bring 3 people with me from the East that had worked with me building other companies. And the 4 of us started building a company.
Yeah, like, because I want to make sure, because people, this is the funniest ass story I've ever heard, and it's true. So you decided you wanted to live in California, San Diego, you said, right? You called Bonnie, and you're like, okay, we're moving. I'm getting on a plane. Tell the story, okay?
Yeah. So I'm standing on the 18th green of La Jolla Country Club in San Diego. Beautiful. I just did a deal for $53 million.
Wow.
And we're signing the papers in the clubhouse, and it's December, and I'm looking out, and we're in shorts and golf shirts. And I just said, why in the hell am I living where I'm living? So I called my wife and I said, hey, I'm at the airport. I'm coming home. You know what the deal is. It's about 6.5 hours. I'll see you in about 7.5, 8 hours. And I decided we're going to move to Southern California. And you have the rest of the day to come up with the reasons why we're not. And I'll be ready for you when you get home. And that was it. Her list was pretty short. It did take us about a year to knock it out. We knocked it out. And then we boarded the plane and headed here. Been here ever since. We started that company, Robin, with 4 people. This is the magic part of this story. All organic growth, no acquisitions. 18 months later, we were in 22 states we were in 22 cities, covering 42 states. And our employee count grew to 750 people in those 18 months. And in our first 3 years of business, the company made $42 million in earnings.
Wow. I mean, it's just
incredible.
incredible.
I've got other stories like that, but at the same time that I'm doing that, I'm not cheating out on my life, right? So let me give you some context here. My wife and I met when we were 16, and we had an incredible life. I lost her, as you know, in 2017 to cancer. 47 years of marriage, 52-year relationship. We were young kids when we met in high school. And we got to know each other's families. And both of our families were saying the same thing. Let me tell you what our mom and dads were saying to each other. When we retire, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. When we retire, we're going to do A, B, and C. And both of our dads passed away around the age of 50. And so what does that mean? None of that shit got done. And I said, hey, Bond, if I'm checking out early, I'm getting a lot of shit done before I check out. We're going to design our lives to be spectacular. And I learned this when I was 13 years old, and I've been following it for a few years, but we're going to upgrade it with the quality of life stuff, not just the business side. Right. And we married the two together from ever.
Right. So talk a little bit about that, because I and I think I'm guilty as everybody else. Work, right? Constantly doing it. Next deadline. I mean, part of that, I was just talking about this on the coaching call. Part of it is I see so much I could do, and it haunts me. Like, I feel like I just got to keep gunning, and I could do more. And I work another hour. And if I work the weekend, and if I work through vacation and stuff. And some of it is obligation. Some of it is just, I don't know. I don't even know. It's like I like what I do too. So I think there's some of it that I enjoy. How do you just give us something concrete? Like, how are you able to grow this company that where you're, what did you say? 42 million EBITDA? What were you doing at like how the hell?
First 3 years made 42 million. Yeah. Look, here's the thing. Anyone who knows me knows I freaking love what I do. Holy shit, man. I am in the zone and I love it. I do CEO coaching around the world over the phone. I do presentations to large and small and medium audiences. And I did one yesterday on virtual, and the host said, every time that you deliver, you are delivering at max, right? That's who I am. And I've been that way since I ran out of the womb. right? So I love what I do, but at the same time, I have a mindset that says this: we only get to do this thing called life one time. And it's a big world out there with a whole shit ton of things that you can do that are fun. And so I want to have fun while I'm building my business, but I understand the reason I build my businesses is to fund, F-U-N-D, to finance my life, which I'm going to make spectacular. And if you read the book, I go and show myself as evidence that you can do both. You can run a successful business and have a spectacular life. And I will turn to you, Robin, right now and say, if you're buried in your business, my concern is that you're not delegating enough to the other people in the organization. As a business owner, my job is just three things. One is clarity of the vision, knowing what I'm trying to build and making sure that everybody in the organization knows it. Second, key people in key spots for execution. And third is culture, creating an environment where the people who work in the business actually get up in the morning and look forward to going to work. And if I can do that, I can let the rest of my staff and my team deliver on the goods. And the greatest example that I've run into personally is Richard Branson. Because here's a guy in my lifetime that's built over 200 companies today operating under the Virgin brand, but he's not encumbered with the day-to-day. He's not in the weeds of any of his companies. He's a visionary, he's the cheerleader, but he then hires these key people and cuts them loose to do the deal. So people just remarked when I was building any of my 6 companies, man, you don't walk around with stress. You seem to have lots of flexibility in your time and your calendar. Absolutely, I built it all in there. Mm-hmm. We actually would test the stress levels with a professional firm every 6 months in the company, and then the guy would come in and give us a debrief. And every 6 months, I was the lowest stress guy at the conference table. We typically have about 8 senior people at the table. And one year, one person said, he's the lowest stress guy at the table. How can that be? And the guy looked up and he smirked and he said, that's because Jack doesn't get stress. He gives stress. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. That's my freaking well, my superpower is making work for other people. You know what I mean? Like, that is my superpower. Like, I get off a call and I'm like, you're not, so, right, Mike? I don't know, Mike, I'm going to take a drink.
No comment. Yeah. No
comment.
You say that, but I mean, you probably are the hardest working person at the company, no doubt. So,
yeah, I mean,
we shouldn't say that in front of Jack, because Jack's like, well, now we're failing. So anyway.
But I mean, the thing, I guess that's the challenge. Like, so, and I'm just talking to you, like, like we'd be hanging out, having a drink, just talking,
That's what we're doing.
I love what I do too. So as much as I get pissed off at myself, because there's sometimes on a Saturday afternoon, I'm still working and it's a beautiful day and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm really pissed off at myself.
Yep.
But then there's times that I think, like, I'm like literally, and here's what, again, I love about your book. You have like, hey, sit down and list what is most important to you. What do you value? And, what are experiences? Where are you now? Like, to really take a time out and really assess your life. I love that. But then, when I really think about it, because I know I'm going to have you talk about your bucket list, right? When I think about my bucket list, maybe I need to be more creative, because I'm like, I don't, like, you have this incredible bucket list. And to me, it's like, I don't know if this is weird or something, but it's like to create a co-managed IT campaign that like rocks. Like, to me, that is like a bucket. Mike is laughing, but I swear to you,
I believe it. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
what's wrong with me, Jack?
Let me. So I don't keep track. You've got one daughter or 2 daughters?
I got 2.
2. That's what I thought. And their ages are what?
11 and 8.
Okay. So explain to them what a bucket list is. And the easy thing to explain to them is just dream and write your dreams down. What would you like to see in life, do in life? Just dream. I really want you to write those things down. Don't think that anything is too big. Like if you'd like to go on a safari in Africa, write that down, right? And you could give them some examples. And so they write them down. And why not take the bucket list of your daughters and make that your bucket list?
I love that.
Make their dreams come true. Now, I'm going to budget in, if they put down the safari, I'm going to budget in my calendar to go on safari. Now, I don't care how much juice I get from putting on a big event. I'm going to defer to Mike and other people in the organization to put that event on while I'm on safari with my daughters, right? So that's the mental state that I have. So I want to know from anybody that's around me, what's important for you in life? What do you want to do? What's going to give you your jollies? And then we'll comprise it as a bucket list of a group, right? I'm doing events now based on Jack Daly's Life by Design that are couple events. And we're spending 4 hours with both the husband, wife, or the two significant others, and we just take them through the process of designing a spectacular life.
I think you should do something with the kids, because what I just heard you say, it never occurred to me. And it sounds like that's silly. Like I should have thought of that, but you're right. I mean, like literally when I started reading the book, I'm thinking to myself, you're right. Like I want my kids to know on an early, like you somehow figured it out. Maybe you could talk about that, but to have our kids know from an early age, because we tell kids you can dream, you can be anything you want, but then it stops there. And then we show them, and I'm talking myself, we show them by example. We work all the time, or we sit in front of a TV, or we sit.
So you just had John DeJulius at your big show, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he probably did not tell the story, because he used to tell the story 20 years ago and he stopped telling it because his kids are grown up now. But he used to tell the story. This is spectacular. So he would drive his two kids to school every morning. And on the way to school, his two kids were in the back seat going, "Dad, do we have to go to school today? Dad, do we have to go to school today?" "Yeah, you have to go to school today. Yeah, you have to go to school today." But 2 days a year, when they said, "Dad, do we have to go to school today?" he would turn to them and pull out of his pocket and say, "Nope, no school today. These are tickets to Disney World. We're going to the airport, going to Disney World." I mean, that is a freaking blast of a thing to do. And he budgeted the day that he would do it, and it made their dreams come true, right? So I freaking love that. Let me go back to where did I get the idea to even do this?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Your background and mine are not too different. I'm the oldest of 5 kids, blue collar family. All my siblings are alive, and 3 of the 4 of them are delivering mail for the U.S. Postal Service, to give some perspective on that, right? And so I took a job as a caddy at the local country club, and I thought I knew what the job was: carry the clubs, find the ball, watch the ball, tend the pin, rake the trap, that kind of shit. And within a week, I realized, holy crap, there's a bigger opportunity here. Because here's the deal: these guys were playing golf on Wednesdays. They're playing golf. Same guy was playing on Friday. Same guy's playing on the weekend. They're arriving in nice cars. They're living in estate homes. Now, my dad's got a 9-passenger station wagon with 200,000 miles on it. It's in the garage getting fixed, more than we use it. He works 6 days a week, and there ain't no golf in his life. He's barely putting food on the table. And my brother and I shared one bedroom that was no bigger than my closet today. And 3 sisters are sharing another bedroom. And I'm going, man, these guys, if I could choose my life, I would choose theirs rather than mine. And so I said, I'm going to ask these guys how they became successful. And I'm going to try to get into their businesses to ask them. And I came to a thing that said, that isn't going to work. They won't meet with me. I'm just 13. That was a big mistake in my life, because if a 13-year-old kid called me today and said, "Can I come by your house and pick your brain?" I would wipe my calendar of all my business appointments and meet with that 13-year-old kid. But nonetheless, I had a fixed mindset at the time that said that won't work. But what did work is they came to my office. It was called the golf course. And we walked side by side for 4.5 hours. And I made a list of questions up over a 2-day period of time of what I was going to ask them. How'd you become so successful? What would you do different? What were the 5 keys to your success? What are the big mistakes? What would you tell me to do? What would you tell me not to do? Now, I want you to think of me carrying your clubs for 18 holes. You go in the clubhouse, you grab a beer or a glass of wine, and there's a friend of yours sitting at the bar, and you go, hey, did you ever have that Daly kid carry your bag? Oh, shit, did he ask you the questions? And I had over 50 members vest in my success. And here is what the biggest takeaway that I talk about this in the book big time. Here's the biggest takeaway that I got. I've been doing it for 60 years. They said, you got to have goals. They got to be in writing or they don't qualify as goals. Don't pick too many. Pick a date when they're going to get done. And when you get them, share them with as many people to put the heat on you so that you're going to go after them, right? So I came up with 4 goals. That's not too many. I picked a date when I was going to have them all done, when I'm going to be old, 30, because at 13, 30 sounded
30 was old.
Right? Now, by the way, 30 sounds pretty damn young at 73.
Yeah, right. I'll
now.
give you $1 million to go back to 30. Are you kidding?
So here's the 4 goals. First goal was financially. What's my annual income and what is my net worth going to be at 30 years old? And I wrote it down. And then my second one was what I'm going to look like professionally. I said the CEO of a business, national in size, in the money business. And I picked the money business because I had visited 2 large cities and the big buildings had financial institutions and banks on there. I thought they had the whole damn building. I'd be in the IT business if I was a kid today. The third goal was what am I going to look like education-wise? I had a couple markers. And what do I want my family to look like at 30? And if I could figure out those 4 pieces, then all I need, now I know the end zone. So it's just like business, Robin. Now that you know the end zone, what's the shit that needs to take place in order to go from where you're at to there?
Backwards
So
plan.
I made a 1-year plan for every year, 13 to 14. What do I need to do financially, professionally, education, and family? And I could write a book on just that story, the number of things that happened in my life that were life-changing. That no one else in school that I was competing with was able to pull off. All these doors opened up because I knew the doors to go through, and so it made my life intentional, not by default. I didn't end up anywhere. I've never ended up anywhere. It's all been with pre-thought.
Now, Jack, how do you like writing? Like, I know you're not very tech, you don't like the tech so much. And I don't mean that like in a negative way, but I know you're just, that's just the way. Talk about how do you keep your goals? Where do you keep them? Where do you write them down? What, how do you is it because you're not using, I don't think a tech.
Oh, no, I got it. Look at this. This goes everywhere with me.
Okay. Look, you haven't even taken the sticker off at the attic land.
That's because last year's was the same color. And I carry them together for my audiences.
Okay.
So this one allows me to figure out quickly that this is 22.
Okay.
I have the equivalent of 60 of these suckers in my office ever since I was 13, right? Now, in here are my personal goals. And they're posted for the world to see on my website. This is not business. This is everything I want to do this year of a personal nature.
Now, what's your website real quick so people can go see it?
JackDalySales.com.
JackDalySales.com. And you have is that a bucket list or a goal
No,
list?
this is just 1-year goals, right? And if you go to JackDalySales.com, you'll also find my bucket list, which has over 400 items. I also can tell the listener and viewer this book sometimes looks thicker than it is. There's over 100 pages of appendix at the end. And the 100 pages of appendix is on a new website called JackDaly'sLifeByDesign.com. So all of the templates, all of the forms, and filled out and blank are there. And you don't even need to buy the book. You can strip it all right off the website.
Right.
So that's all there. Now look at this. See these goals? I give these to 5 people I call the board of directors of my life. And I tell them, this is what I want to do, hold me accountable. Every one of those board of directors of my life meets with me individually 4 times a year. So 20 times I'm called on the carpet by badasses. And you're right, I don't do it technologically. Every day, I write down every single thing I do that day that relates to the goals that I set for myself. And at the end of the month, I have my key indicators and a month by month tracking is how I'm progressing. And I can look at where I was the year before for a month to month, year to year lookup. And again, this is on the personal side of my life, Robin. Now, what was interesting is yesterday I did a virtual program for a couple hundred people with Petra and Andy Bailey.
Yep.
And Andy introduced me with his planner exactly like this and credited me with it and said, I used to do it by way of an app, but what I found is the writing it down every day kept me true to the form.
Yeah, I do think there's something like I'm still old school with writing stuff down.
Me too.
Like if I get an idea, I mean, because people ask me, like, how do you track everything? Like what technology, like they mean what tech? They'll say what app or something like that. And I'm still pretty old school in the sense that, I mean, I use technology. I don't like, to keep track of stuff, but a lot of the stuff that for inspiration is all goal. Like it's all like handwritten. There's something about that, I think. Yeah.
Coach calls. I mean, like I'm not sitting at a computer putting them into some damn computer. What I'm doing is intentionally listening to my client so that I can be 100% attentive to whatever the issue that they're trying to grapple with. And if I were sitting in front of a keyboard, I'm just not good at that. At 36 years old, I was running a $23 billion company. If you find yourself in that situation, you've got people that are doing all the data entry and all the rest of that stuff with computers.
Yeah. And not to say, I mean, like, I don't think there's anything wrong if you use tech and that's what lights you up and that's how I think people get too hung up on the technicalities. And I don't know if that's kind of a way of procrastinating. It's like they're I kind of look at it, it's like a dog circling a bed. Like they're trying to grapple with it. And so they're asking like, well, what tech and how do you write it down? And what do you track? And it's like, sometimes you just start wherever you are and then build on it. Right. I mean,
hey, you've heard the story. I wanted to do the Ironman. I was 58 years old and didn't know how to swim. Well, you could grapple with learning to swim all day long, or here's an idea, get in the fucking water and start swimming, right? And get yourself a coach that tells you, well, that ain't going to carry the day. Why don't you try it this way? And you learn bit by bit. I swallowed more chloride or whatever they put in the pool, whatever that damn chemical is. I took so much damn water in my first 60 days of learning to swim, but I wasn't going to learn to swim by reading a damn book or watching a video.
Yeah. Well, and I think, again, that's like, anything that's new, that's uncomfortable, that, a lot of people, again, they're like the dog circling the bed. They're trying to figure it out and they're trying to get it perfect. And they're afraid they're going to do it wrong. And where am I going to find the time? They get so much in their head that they just, sometimes, you're right. You just got to jump in the water. Okay, first thing, buy the book, right? But if somebody's going, okay, I love the idea, where would you recommend they start? Because like they're looking at your book and your notes and your discipline and they're going, holy shit, that's a lot, right? So if you were going to give them advice and just say, where do I start? Like, what would you recommend they do as a starting point?
Yeah, so you've heard me speak on the business side. My businesses were successful because of 2 words, systems and processes, right? We built into the book the system and process to follow. The first thing that you need to do is you need to figure out what your values are, right? And then you need to think about what success means to you. And at different stages of our lives, success is differently articulated. When my kids My kid, it's difficult for me to refer to my kids. My kids are 43 and 50.
Okay.
How did that freaking happen? But when the kids were home, my life by design was built around them, right? I mean, I didn't do my first marathon until I was 46 years old. That means that my son was 16, and it means my daughter was 23. By then, I felt like, well, I could do some training for a marathon without impugning upon them, right?
Right.
I didn't do my first Ironman until I was 58. Well, the kids are gone by then. So the only person I'm asking to make a sacrifice besides me is my wife, Bonnie, and she would support me in anything I'd ever do, right? So there's a whole bunch of stuff in the book that's like, well, shit, I don't have time to do the Ironman and I don't have time to do a marathon. Well, neither did I. So let me tell you, I'm going to play 100+ rounds of golf this year. Okay, because that's what I like to do. When I had my kids at home, I like to play golf, but I put my golf clubs away for 20 years because 4.5 hours on the golf course and a commute to the golf course and back is 6. I'm robbing 6 hours from my kids, and I'm busy for 12 hours a day building my company. So I got to spend my time building my company when I'm in my 30s, and I got to spend time with my wife and my kids. After that, there wasn't a lot left over, right? It's a life by design, but the design of the life at different stages is comprised of different things. So I ask these provocative questions in the book. What's success to you 5 years from now? What's success to you 10 years from now? And what's success 20 years from now? And now, once you've defined it, let's backwards thinking and figure out, well, what are the steps we need to take to ensure that we're going to be ready to make that 10-year goal and 20-year goal happen.
Yeah. How much time do you spend every day? Like, do you have like is it because you systems and processes, right? So like, is it every January you sit down and spend a day planning or?
Yeah, that's great. Great question.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would tell you, this daily record, that's over breakfast, and it takes me less than 3 minutes.
So at breakfast every day, you're kind of filling in what from the day before, or?
Yes, day before.
Okay.
Yep. It's a completed day. I got it all. By the way, I'm not completely absent of technology. I've got apps that's tracking a bunch of shit for me, right? It just picks it up. So my step counter is on my phone. My distance I've covered is on my phone. My Peloton stats are on my phone, and those are all important ingredients for me. So I'm able to, right? I track how many hours I sleep at night. Well, the next morning, I know what it was. I record it, right? I have a goal, 8 hours of sleep per night. And that's a difficult thing for a person like yourself or me to do with everything else that we want to accomplish. But things that get measured get done. So that's what I do every day. And then I summarize it by the month. And that takes me about an hour. And then I summarize it by the quarter. That takes me about 3 hours because I do a full-end quarterly report to what I call the board of directors of my life, just like I used to in business. And then let's go to the annual process. I start to assemble stuff that are considerables for my goals in Thanksgiving to the middle of December. So about a month. And all I'm doing is sorting through this. This is April, but the back of this book is filled with a lot of papers and notes of ideas that I'm putting down for next year. They didn't make the cut, but I ran into somebody and said, wow, that's a cool thing to do. And maybe that'll make the list next year. So that Thanksgiving to the middle of December is when I'm sorting through. And then I get my stuff, and then I pass it through a couple eyes besides mine and say, am I overcommitting? Is this going to be doable? And when we get to the point where, okay, it's pretty doable, then I print it up and pass it on to my board of directors of my life and put it on my website. But I'm going to add one more element. I want full commitment. So if I'm going to go to Egypt and Jordan and Petra, I'm going to find the dates on the calendar and I'm going to book the hotels and the air flights now because it's going to make much more difficult to get out of it
Right.
when something else comes up.
Yeah,
And
well,
that's
that's like,
something,
I mean,
and by the way, that's something else that comes up is usually in business.
you know, it's like Tony Robbins. I worked for him for a very brief period of time. Well, not brief. I mean, like about a year. You know, one of the things he said is never leave the sight of a goal without taking some small action towards it. So if you say, I'm going to start working out, like pick, you know, like one of the things I do when I'm in the gym today, I set up my workout for tomorrow. So I don't have to think about what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? Right. It's like, you know, cause that's like setting that goal. And, you know, that's something I think like if you say, I'm going to take a vacation or I'm going to get in shape or whatever, it's like, you know, sign up for the marathon, sign up for, like you said, book the hotel. It's like, you have to make those commitments because otherwise it's just going to be something that someday when I have enough time, when I get around to it, when I have enough money, and then it never happens because you never have time or money, right? You know, it's
right.
Now, what would you say? There's probably, Mike, are there people commenting? Because like, I don't know if people are posting comments and questions, but yeah.
Yeah, we got some comments and but if you have questions, make sure you put them in the comment box.
Yeah, because I don't want, I'm just going to talk to you. I'm like ignoring everybody. Not ignoring, I love you all, but you know. So, you know, what if somebody's like, hey, I'm not that, because I know there are some people, I'm like thinking in my life right now that are dreamers that do want to design a life, but they're not as good at like documenting and measuring. Like to them, that is like a nightmare, right? Is that essential? Like, because I feel like it would be essential. Like if anything measured improves, anything measured and reported upon improves exponentially. That's Pearson's law. We all know that. But what if you're like, what if that gives you like a toothache to think about, oh my God, like measuring sleep and measuring the steps and measuring my calories and measuring, you know what I mean? Like, what do you say about that?
So here's what I hear. This is going to be a circular route.
Mm-hmm.
I could have a speaking and training business with hundreds of speakers, trainers, and coaches, like that, because there's two pieces to a successful business: supply and demand. I have tons of people that want to speak, train, and coach under the Jack Daly brand. They come to me every day. Can I work under your brand? I have demand that overwhelms me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have designed my company to be me. I have no employees and it's a quality of life business. I work when I want to work, where I want to work, and I turn opportunities down every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's success to me. Now I teach business owners how to scale their business, but I don't practice what I preach because I'm not trying to scale my business. So in my business, I'm that person. I don't, like if a consultant came in, they'd give me an F. Like, you're leaving all this business opportunity on the floor, Jack. All you have to do is this, this, and this. I don't want to do that. And my business will never be as successful as it could be. I already built a bunch of successful businesses. I exited on them. This is now my fun business, and I make a difference with others, but I want it to be more flexible for me. Now, if you want to take that same story and put it into your life, then that's your definition of success. All I would tell that person is this: if you don't commit things to writing, and if you don't measure some aspects of actions that you're taking, don't expect to get to the things that you are going to verbally say that you want, because life gets in the way and it doesn't happen. And there's too much evidence of the way I'm doing it that says it works, and too much evidence that it doesn't work the other way. Yeah. But listen, I've got siblings that seem to be happy humans. I wouldn't want their fucking life, but they seem to be happy with it, right?
I don't know.
They're trying to figure out how to make the bills this month. They don't have the nice automobile that I have. They don't have the country club membership that I have. They don't have the latitude to go and travel for extended periods of time. But if you're happy with what you got, who am I to critique it? Right. But for me, this writing stuff down, It absolutely works. And giving it to other people. So let me talk about that. Bonnie, who was married to me for 47 years, never was invited to be on my board of directors in my life. And the reason is that I expect that when I have those sessions with those people, for them to call me out. And so if I said to Bonnie at the end of a quarter, well, I got all these things done, but these 3 things I didn't get done, she would say, well, you get more done than everybody else. Lighten up. You don't need to get everything done. I don't need that from a board of director in my life. So all 5
Can
of
you
my
say that again? Because like I just got yelled at from like clients who are like, they're saying like, I don't want to be held that hard. Not the people I was just talking to, but some people say like, I don't want to be held that accountable. Like, I don't want you yelling at me. In fact, like Jack, this guy, I'll never forget this. This guy came up to me in a seminar and he said, you know, Robin, if I wanted a woman to tell me all the things I'm not doing and failing at and show all my shortcomings and point those all out, I could have stayed home and got that for free from my wife. I don't need to come to a seminar and pay you to do it. Right. And that like always stuck with me. And I'm like, you know, and there was actually I can't find it. There was something.
I'd have given the guy a plane ticket home right then and said, then go, get the hell out. I mean, look, this is what you're there for. So Bonnie wasn't invited, but Melissa is my 50-year-old daughter. 3 degrees, all scholarships, drama student of the year. She's a mom with 2 kids. She's a wife. She's head of the PTA. Like in our big family, here's what she's called: Jack in a skirt. Okay. And there's no way I'm
I want to hire
for
her. Wait a minute. Is she about like, let me hook me up. I need Jack in a skirt in my office. I'll find a position for her. I'm sure I can.
I'm sure you absolutely you would. There's no way that I would ever show up for a one-on-one with Melissa and not get my shit done. And
I wonder if they actually call Jack Melissa in pants.
Right.
So, yeah.
So that's the caliber of people that are holding me accountable. 3 of them are previous business partners of mine, and 1 has been my friend since I was 5 years old. And, you know, they'll drop me like that if I'm not serious about what I write down.
Well, and, you know, let me add on to that, because here's how I feel. And I was just coaching some clients about this. And, you know, and I won't say, you know, I don't want to call him out because shit, whatever, I'm drinking. So, you know, Vincent from Canada, right? Sure, I won't say, sure. I'll just leave it at that. Right.
Yeah.
And I have them do the backwards planning, just like, you know, like you teach, you know, what are your goals? How many new clients, how many first time appointments you need to go, how many leads, like work backwards. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like your goals, like these numbers don't make sense and you're behind on them. And that led to a conference, and he owned it. Like, so I'm not saying like, he's like, you're right, you know, but I said to him, and I think you believe this, I want you to talk about this, is I believe never set a goal you're not serious about, because if you're not serious, then don't set a goal and then train yourself. Well, I never follow through anyway. Like part of what I think you've done is you've trained yourself. When I set that goal, I'm dead. I'm serious. I will follow through. I will get it done. And that confidence, momentum, mojo, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Like, I think so many people, they set these half-ass goals and they set them like their mindset's kind of like, well, I got to do it because it's New Year's, or, well, Robin's making me do it, or Jack's making me set these goals. And they're not really bought in. They're really not serious about it. You call them out and you're like, this doesn't even make sense. Like the numbers don't even make sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like work about, like, this doesn't even make sense. Are you serious about this? Or are you not serious about this? And, you know, Vince, he was very serious. He owned it 100%. Talk a little bit about that, the importance of setting goals and being serious about it, and how that impacts the results of every goal that you set.
So I mentioned the book earlier. It's called Relentless. It's written by Tim Grover.
I've had him speak at my events. So
And look, if you don't want to read my book, that's fine. But man, anybody that's listening in here, read Relentless, because that answers your question better than I'll answer that question. And it's all about owning that goal. You know, when he refers to 3 categories of people, the ultimate is the cleaner, right? And so when you think about the pro golf tour, Tiger Woods made it to the Masters and made the cut. And we didn't think he'd be walking a year ago. And there he is in one of the most prestigious golf tournaments. But why? Because he's a cleaner. He set that as a goal. And he said, whatever the hell I need to do. And he played and practiced in pain for a fucking year to get there. And it wasn't because somebody was hounding him or holding him accountable. It's him holding himself accountable because he set that serious goal and he meant it. When Karen, my wife today, who was a client for 20 plus years, when she read the book, Relentless, she came home and she said, holy shit, I live with a cleaner. I live with a relentless guy. And she's now listening to the book every single month for a full year. Every month she gets her Tim Grover fix. And that's the wiring. It's, if you're going to put that sucker down as a goal, then it's got to be a part of you, no different than taking a breath. It is like breathing. Now, also, and I address this in the book, shit happens, right? So I had a bicycle accident during my Ironman journey, and I broke my collarbone, and I broke 3 ribs, and I broke open my head, and I had a race that was scheduled 6 weeks out, and there was no way that I could do it. So I had to adjust to the environment. I got a different Ironman 6 months later on the calendar, so I was able to get as many Ironmans as I wanted that year, just not the ones that I identified in the order in which I identified them. Mm-hmm. But when I broke that collarbone, I also said, okay, I can't do it 6 weeks from now, but I can get it done before the end of the year. Go find another Ironman and register for that one. Right? Mm-hmm. That's the commitment to the goal. That I don't need an outsider to be on my back about that. That I'm so dead serious about the goal. I'm not going to mess around with it if it isn't serious.
Right. Yeah, I think there's something to it. There really is something to training yourself, that when I set a goal, when I say I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. and run a mile or whatever it is, training yourself that when that alarm clock goes off, come hell or high water, you make yourself do it.
Yeah, here's the other thing I really want to encourage the viewer. I want him to think big, dream big. I want him to think about, don't worry about the money, don't worry about the time, don't worry about whether it's so ridiculous. Just throw on a piece of paper whatever you want in terms of, wouldn't it be a kick if I could do this? Wouldn't it be a kick if I could do that? Right. So, I've not only run a marathon in all the continents, but my one in Asia was on the Great Wall of China. Now, it's a kick to just be on the Great Wall of China, but to run a freaking marathon on the Great Wall of China, that's a mind-blowing experience, right? Yeah. I put down on my bucket list that I wanted to fly a jet fighter plane. I have no flying instructions. I've never flown an airplane, but a guy saw it on my website. He emails me and says, has this thing gotten done yet? And I said, no. And he sent me an email back with a picture of a jet fighter plane he bought from the US Air Force and said, I bought this from the Air Force, would this qualify? And I said, hell yeah. And he said, we just need to find a time and a place. And within 2 months, he flew into the city. I was there at the airport. He opened up the cockpit. He handed me a blue helmet. And we got and took off, and there I am with my blue helmet in the cockpit of a jet fighter plane, and I just threw it out there, and just throw it out there.
Well, I like the fact that one of the things that because I know you've said this before, and I know Vince, because Vince is awesome. We love him. He is I just want to put that out there. He's a genuine, smart entrepreneur. He's got so much heart and integrity and everything. Because I know
his wife and his kid have been at my house several times. We are really good friends. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal human being. Really sincerely mean that. So, I think because one of the things you did is you when you came to my event, you talked about this bucket list and sharing it with people, because you said people will call you up and say, hey, I can help you with that. And so sharing that was important, because I think what did you do with Vince? You went shit, what was it? You went and did a,
What's the thing that's got two wheels and
the Segway or something? Was
Segway?
it?
That was it. He reached out and he saw that I wanted to do a Segway, and he said, "Well, you're going to be up here, so why don't we do a Segway together?"
Yeah,
And
yeah. It's like,
that
it's
was the
so
beginning
cool.
of our relationship that evolved into a close friendship. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal human being. So, and I hope he doesn't mind. Like, he's probably watching. I don't want, I don't want him to think I'm like calling him out, but it's like it's fresh in my mind because whatever. Anyway, let me ask you this. And Mike, I'm totally ignoring Mike and all the questions because Mike's like watching the questions and stuff. So if you have questions, like post it below because we're gonna have to wrap up here soon. But so Jack, like, what is the coolest thing you've done so far? Like out of all the experiences, because you've got a list in this book. I mean, like you said, you got a list of.
So
if anyone needs ideas, I mean,
there's 400 items on my bucket list, and I've got 3/4 of them done. Right.
But what happens when you get 100%?
No. That's a great question. You never want to get the bucket list done, right? So when you get to about 75%, you go on search engine and you punch in bucket list and you pick up some new stuff. So as an example, I found one that I did this year. Wrap a big snake around your neck. And kiss someone you love on the top of the Ferris wheel. Those things weren't Jack Daly-isms, but I needed to put some shit in my list because I don't want to complete the list, right? So here, I'm gonna get a little sentimental here. One of the items on my bucket list was to celebrate the 50th wedding anniversary with my wife Bonnie, and we only had 47 years, and then she passed away. So that one technically will never get completed, but we went the distance, and so I sort of feel like it was completed. But I want to tell you, in my entrepreneurial career, we lived in 47 years of marriage. We lived in 27 different homes, and so
wow.
I put my money into the new company each time. We could have stopped and been safe and sound financially the rest of our lives, but she allowed me, or she encouraged me to go again and again, made the sacrifices. So I'm really proud of that as an accomplishment on my bucket list, to keep a loving marriage together. If I go away from that sentimentality aspect, doing the Ironman and making it onto the World Championship Ironman, when you didn't know how to swim at 58 years old, that's a big freaking deal for me.
Yeah.
And I would tell you, on the list of things that are big for me that I haven't accomplished, I want to carry the torch for the Olympics. By the way, this is something you should put down on your list. You not only carry the torch, but you get to keep it, and you can put it in a shadow box hanging up in your home. And so I've got shadow boxes of all kinds of things in the house. I'd love to have that. So I've got two people that have said, "Tell me the Olympics you want, I'll get you the torch." So
Wow.
I'm ready to go on that one. I'd like to meet a president of the United States in the Oval Office, and I'd also like to fly on Air Force One. I have a particular person in mind that may make it into the presidency here in the next 10 years. And if he does, then I'm pretty solid that I'm not going to make that happen. So that's my ticket that may get punched in that way. And I haven't played Augusta, and that's on my list, to play Augusta, where the Masters is played. So those are three that are still out there. And people look at my list and say, hey, some of this stuff is impossible. I'll give you one that's, people would tell me it's been impossible since I put it on my list at 28 years old. I said I'm going to live to 125 years old. I just figured if I took care of,
I think you're too stubborn to die. I think
if I took care of myself between 28 and 75, medical science would figure out how to take me to the finish line. But if I led a sloppy life and handed them a pretty dead old man at 75, they wouldn't inject the science.
Yeah, I know. I think that, I mean, it's amazing. It's like, I think and I'm speaking myself included, you get so busy with the day to day that you forget to dream about the future and what it looks like and what could be possible. And you're right. When you look back at your life, I mean, because no one's getting out alive, and whenever your COD, your crap out date happens, what are you going to look back and wish you did? Or, and I think it's not just about experiences like wrapping a snake around your neck, although if that's your thing, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think, and for me, I think, this is the book has been a good reset, because, you get to a point where me personally, you've achieved a certain level of success in business. And then, you don't want to be like, what's next, in the sense of, is this all there is? I wrote a great sales letter for cybersecurity, getting leads, and I love that. I mean, and that's, believe me, I get a lot of fulfillment from that. But I think this goes beyond that to say, the people that are around us, the people we care about, how do we make a difference? Because I think once you get out of the struggle of survival, like paying the bills and stuff like that,
Right.
Once you get beyond that, and I think most people watching this, that they're beyond that, like they're paying their bills. And, I think where, like Thordo said, most men live lives of quiet desperation. And I think it's because there's a deep-seated unhappiness. I call it like a low-grade fever, where they're really not happy with their life, because I don't think they really have goals. I don't think they have vision. And it's easy to get trapped in that.
Look, and this is very pertinent for your audience, Robin. Just go and Google Steve Jobs' words as he left our planet. On his deathbed, he basically said, "I screwed up."
Yeah, that would be the worst thing ever. Yeah,
I screwed up. I didn't have life priorities in the right order. And here's a guy that I think, in his words, made a substantial dent in the universe and did some really cool shit. And he was totally captivated and loved what he did. And he had passion and energy for it. But on his deathbed said, "Man, I could have done a better job of doing this thing called life."
Yeah. And had success, and like any one of us would be like, holy shit, the guy's a huge success. Like none of us would look at him and go, what a failure.
Right.
Yeah. I think there's a balance, because I think that, one, I would also say that I think you have to pick whatever you do for a living to make it work. I think, you got to have passion about it. Because I do see another area where, there's entrepreneurs that come to me and they're like, my business is struggling and I'm failing and I need a better marketing plan. And when you really talk to them, they're bored as shit with their business. They hate it. They hate their business. They hate their employees. They hate their customers. They hate the stress. Like they hate it, and, so like, there's like, I tell them like, look, I can give you better marketing, but you hate this shit so much. There's no way you're going to succeed with it.
No fix. Absolutely.
So you gotta like,
so at 46 years old, I got up in the morning and didn't want to go into work. I didn't want to see an employee. That's how I got into what I'm doing. I just said, this isn't fun anymore for me. It's not challenging. Today's going to look like yesterday and tomorrow's going to look like tomorrow. And there's no buzz anymore. And so I literally drove into the office, closed my door, called my board, called my investors and said, I've lost my passion. It's not fun anymore. And let's get me out of the role. And 60 days later, I was unemployed.
Yeah.
And then went on to do what I'm doing now. And I didn't know I was going to do what I was doing now. I thought I'd take a year off and figure out what I'm going to do. And then the phone started ringing and people are going, hey, I hear you're not working. Can you come and talk to my group and come to this and come to that? And I came home from that to Bonnie and just said, I think I found my passion. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And here I am 20 some years later doing the same thing.
Yeah. I'll never forget your comment. You said at one of my events, how many salespeople were you managing at one point? It was like
2,600. Yeah.
What was your quote? Your quote was like, it's like, how you give blood like once a month.
Like going to the Red Cross to give a pint of blood and they take all your body fluids out and they
like
do
all
it
your blood and your
hour.
bodily fluids. Yeah.
Every hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if that's how you think, you need to get out.
Yeah. No, you're right. You gotta fix that. Because if there's days, I mean, I feel like, every once in a while I wake up wanting to quit, but it's not like every day. And,
Right.
Every once in a while you have a rough time of it, but if you're waking up every day and it is a chore to go in and do what you got to do, yeah, you got to reassess. I think that's like,
it's a big world out there. There's a lot of cool stuff to do.
Yeah. Mike, do we have any questions or
Yeah, no, I know we only got a couple minutes, but actually our own Will Nobles had a question, then he made the offer, and Will said, Jack, come to Georgia and we will play Augusta. So put it out there, but Will Nobles will hold him to it. So you can check that one off. And a
There we
related
go.
one, Jack. What's that?
I love that.
Yeah, exactly. And equally as good, I was looking at your bucket list that you released in February, and you said to learn how to play half a song on the piano, and I can help you with that. I only know
Nice.
half a song, but we can check those two off. We'll go to Atlanta. I'll play half a song on a piano with you, and then you can play Augusta. But Will was asking for a friend, for an outside salesperson, if they're not always having good months, how long do you let them go missing KPIs and goals before you kind of let them go?
Like, why would you ask that question? Come on, like we're talking about life and like Jack, hold on a second. All this shit about your goals and bucket list and like living and like a legacy and all that. Like, okay, put that on hold for a second. All right. Settle down with all that goal shit. When do you fire a fucking sales rep who can't like close a deal? Like, come on, Jack.
I think Will knows the answer. It's when you ask that question in front of a bunch of people.
See, you
So-
shouldn't get me drinking because then I say hurtful things. That's probably like one of my top paying customers and I'm just pissing them off. Anyway.
Well, Will Nobles. So
Oh, was it Will?
yeah.
Oh, for God's sake, Will.
Tell him to call me. I'll give him the answer personally. And maybe I'll tell him to do the same thing with the fucking guy that asked the question.
Yeah, right. What's a KPI? Yeah, like
Yeah.
I need a what? Where are we? You know, yeah, this is crazy. All right. So Jack, all right, we got to wrap up because I know we said an hour and you've been generous. You're always very generous with your time.
Yeah, my tea time is not for another 30 minutes, so I'm good.
Where do they go? You want them to go to Amazon? Or
Yeah, Amazon's good. Yeah. I mean, if they go to jackdalyslifebydesign.com, they can get it there too, but that's cool.
Yeah, we should have you come back maybe in January. Where are you based now? Are you still in San Diego?
Yeah, sort of. And
Okay.
I'm an hour north of San Diego in San
Yeah, 'cause
Clemente.
we have our producers club meeting next January. We always go someplace warm because it's freezing
Yeah,
cold.
right.
We should have you come back and do a workshop on like get people to like really, you know, like dig into their goals in their life. Maybe we can make like people, we could have them, we could do an S. You remember S?
Yeah.
Have them like lock them in the room. They can't go to the bathroom, make them cry and vomit. Like, you remember like there's all that going on.
I do remember all that, but I'm surprised that like you're disclosing a little bit about your age now.
Yeah, well, I am. Well, I never went to an S seminar, so that was I've read about it, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's a little
yeah.
bit before my time, but
Yeah. It's you know, I can tell you a little bit about the Civil War, but I wasn't there either.
kind of the same thing. Yeah. Yeah, we should have you come back. We should have you come back and do this, like, because it would be January. You know, people kind of in that mode of a new year. That might be a cool thing if you're open for it.
It is. It's a good time to do that.
Yeah.
We'll take their New Year resolutions and burn them since they don't work anyway.
Yeah, right. Well, there you go. Mike, what do you got? You got anything you want to say or add or comments?
The half a song on the piano was all I had, Robin. With that.
The half a
What
song.
song though, Mike? What
Yeah.
song?
The half a
Chopsticks?
song on the piano is really good. Here's the concept. I got 30 people at a party and there's a piano in the room and I just walk over and I start playing a song and I get halfway through and I stop and I go, I don't want to take up anybody else's time and stuff. Let's just have a drink. And everybody's wowed by the fact that Jack can play the piano.
Okay. Well, chopsticks may not cut it.
Yeah, right.
So okay, I'm out.
Something Tony Bennett like, or Lady Gaga, you know, that type of thing. By the way, I just took Karen to Lady Gaga last week in Vegas. And I surprised her right before we've gotten on the plane. I had a Lady Gaga guitar signed by Lady Gaga in a shadow box with a few personalized photos. So,
Wow, look at that. Look at you.
Yeah. So
You're a good gift giver, I bet.
well, you know, we have a wine tasting room in the house, and I've got James Taylor's guitar signed hanging up there, and so she needed something. So
Gotcha.
We're gonna go see JT together for the first time, her first time with me, in June, in July or June in Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Well, California's still shut down. Like you're not, there's no concerts. Are you guys out there? You're out in like, are you guys open or what's going on out in California?
It depends on what part of California. Orange County, we never participated in the pandemic.
Okay.
We just never did. Yeah.
I hear you. It's like here in Franklin, we didn't either, but down like Nashville proper was like, yeah, it was like a mess, but yeah.
No, as soon as I went across the LA County, all of a sudden they were all over me.
Yeah.
You know, putting a mask all over my car and all kinds of shit.
All right, very cool. All right, so one more time, where do we go? Just Amazon or where's the URL?
Amazon's the easiest. You know, but I really want to encourage people to go to the Jack Daly's lifebydesign.com because the whole back of the book is there with all the forms and templates. They can get working on it. Like you don't need to read the book if you don't want to. And by the way, it's on audio. I am the voice. Some people that on the audio reviews on Audible have said it's great to hear my voice because I speak with passion about what I'm talking about. You know, that type of thing.
Yeah, no, I like books that are read by the author because you want to hear it in their voice. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So cool. Jack, amazing as usual. Thank you for having a drink with us. Mike, thank you. I gotta go get a refill. Yeah. You were better. You got the bottle. Good I got a whole damn bottle.
Holy shit. What are you drinking there?
It's Belle Gloss. It's a Pinot Noir, which I'm not usually a Pinot Noir person because I like kind of heartier wines. Yeah. It's Clark and Telephone. You know, one of my clients used to have, I think, a wine store or something, and they recommended this. I'm telling you, this is like the bomb. So cool. Belle Gloss, and it's the Clark and Telephone is the one I like. So pouring a little bit more.
Got my notes.
All right.
All right, guys.
Cheers, Jack.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good weekend.
Thanks.